On behalf of the Rebuilding Alliance Board of Directors, I am honored to present to you Dr. Hanan Ashrawi, our top Peacemaker Award, which we have called this year the Parrhesia Award, Speaking Truth to Power. The award is named in reference to the nonviolent act of speaking truth in resistance to oppression. We wish to honor how conscientiously and bravely you have spoken now and over the decades in your many roles on behalf of Palestine and the Palestinian people.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for being with us and for allowing us to be with you. Perhaps I should begin by acknowledging how difficult a period of time this is in Palestine. Following the Trump administration, the Abraham Accords, which undercut the Arab Peace Initiative. Of course, you are very familiar with difficult times.
You can say that again.
You were active politically during your student years. You were in Beirut during the War of '67. You were effectively exiled from Palestine from your home at that time. You went on to a doctorate at the University of Virginia. The new Birzeit University wanted to bring you back as a member of the faculty, and eventually you were able to return. We noticed that your training was not in politics. You're so well known for your political roles, but your training, like mine, was in literature, in English literature and in comparative literature. And you became professor and chair of the English department at Birzeit University, the first of the Palestinian universities. So I'm interested in your literary background and its relationship to your activism. And it fits in with the title of our award, the Greek term Parrhesia, from Greek philosophy and from Greco-Roman culture and from the period of the early church fathers, means roughly free or frank speech, a speech act in which truth is the most important thing and which may carry some risk for the speaker. So I would like to ask you, if we could, to say something about how your literary interests and your literary training have influenced you in your roles as a spokesperson for the Palestinian cause.
Well, I've always said that, first of all, thank you very much. I didn't get the chance to thank you and to thank Rebuilding Alliance for this wonderful award. I will treasure it and I will keep it, and I will always value it, because no matter what you do, getting this recognition is always empowering, and it's a source of validation that you're not going unnoticed, and that there are people who help and who do understand what you're going through. So thank you very much. And it's wonderful to be with you again.
You.
And yes, you and I do share a background in literature. While you remained in that field, you married your activism with your literary endeavors and scholarship, which is actually something I try to do, because my love has always been academia, research, writing, literature. And unfortunately, like most Palestinians, sometimes you do not have the luxury of choice. I wrote about how reality intrudes and intervenes and imposes on you responsibilities and challenges and risks that you have to take. And I think all Palestinians in many ways have to make this existential choice. Do we want to be passive victims of a very abnormal and unjust and painful reality, or do we want to roll up our sleeves and try to change this reality and stand up to injustice and oppression and attempts at silencing and dehumanizing the Palestinians? So in many ways, I managed to, I think, marry both my literary commitments. I don't want to say career, because I'm not teaching these days as much as I would like to, and my activism, whether as a student or as a faculty member or as dean, and as spokesperson somehow, since you are used to dealing with the word and you understand the power of the word. I used to talk about Peso as the goddess of persuasion. Many people look at her as being, more gentle or seductive and so on, but I think of her as an extremely powerful and formidable goddess. Like Parrhesia, it has power. She has power, and in many ways, the word itself has power and can shape reality, and is no substitute for action, but it's the trigger for action. And so I felt that if you have the power of the word, and I don't want to go back to biblical literature, I was a medievalist as well. It's important that you use it and use it responsibly, because you have also the responsibility of truth. And you have the responsibility of maintaining the word in order to ensure that it is not silenced, and to ensure that your narrative is not hijacked, confiscated, or distorted, or forged. So I felt that one major battle we had as Palestinians was to ensure that our narrative is out there, that our narrative is validated and heard and recognized, because from the beginning, the attempt at displacing the Palestinians and replacing them with another nation also accompanied with it attempts at the erasure of our history, of our narrative, of our culture, and it is still ongoing, not from even before the Nakba, when the Balfour Declaration decided that we were, they defined us by what we are not. They said the non-Jewish population, which was 90% at that time of Palestine, was non-Jewish, but we were all Palestinians, whether Jewish, Christian, or Muslim. But Balfour decided to call the 90% of the Palestinians by describing us in the narrative, the non-Jewish population, and we were called even the non-Jewish communities, and they gave us, some sort of rights, but not freedom or national rights or statehood or whatever. And they gave, and with the Balfour Declaration, they gave themselves the right to displace us and replace us with another people. And this paradigm Ilan Pape talked about, the displacement-replacement paradigm, is very important to us, because it's not an incident, it's not a one-time thing in history, it's an ongoing process. And so I saw and I felt and I heard all my life. At one point, I wrote that we weren't even allowed to use the term Palestinian.
Yes, you're writing that.
Yeah, ourselves. So the language that was used in order to confiscate and abduct our reality and to try to present it through our adversaries was a real challenge, that we had to stand up and we had to fight back and we had to say we are here and this is who we are. And with all the wealth of our culture, history, identity, not just as victims, but as people who are bent on and determined to get our freedom, our rights, our dignity, and to assert our humanity, not in a defensive way, but in a proactive, probably even intrusive way, to say we are here and this is our narrative. So language was a very important part of it, as was activism. So ours was an act of affirmation. And we combined our resistance, and I've always been engaged in nonviolent resistance and activism and so on. We combined it with the will to speak out, with not just the impulse or the urge, but the determination, as I said, not to be silenced and to amplify our voices and to join up with others who are also being silenced, who are also being oppressed. So ours is in many ways a human message, a global message against injustice, against oppression.
You had done that from your student days at the University of Virginia, joining with the Black students. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was invited to attend as an honorary member, our Palestinian sister, they called me, to attend the meetings of the Black Students Alliance. I don't know if they still remember, but it's been some time. But no, I mean, there was identification and solidarity, certainly, among many.
I also want to mention, if we go back in time, the Madrid conference of 1991, there was a debate whether the opening speech from the Palestinian delegation should be in Arabic or in English. And you argued for English so that the Americans could understand and the world audience could understand. And you wrote that the speech that Dr. Haidar Abul-Shafi delivered was the speech that you wrote.
Yes.
It was a groundbreaking speech. It was eloquent. It was based in ethics. It made a case that appealed to the emotions and it appealed to logic. And I think, as you said in the speech, it was the moment to overcome Palestinian reticence. So it was a time when that story was really heard around the world. Yeah.
That's true. I mean, it is a significant speech, and to me, it remains something that's close to my heart because it's something that I wrote while I was in tears, actually. So it's a very honest, a very real speech. It's not manipulative. In many ways, it's a language that came out from my experience, from the fact that I was coming from the occupied territories, from occupied Palestine, from a people who were suffering for no fault of their own, and that now we had this platform and we could speak out and we could tell the world, this is who we are.